BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spence. And listen, all you got to do is find your reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf, all at betonline.ag. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So, head to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, that's BLEAV50, B-L-E-A-V 50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It's BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Tell them the Noisemakers sent you.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah. Popcorn World. Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of a can. I can make it round the world when it holds in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. 250 flavors. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Furniture Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again. BLEAV in the ACC. I'm Lloyd Spence. That's Kendrick Haskins, and that is the dancing machine. That is Charlie Ward. And we're here.
Hips don't lie.
Hips don't lie. Hips don't lie, ladies and gentlemen. And soon we will be making his debut. I heard the only disappointing thing is that I heard Dancing with the Stars is not going to be on ABC this year, but on Disney Plus. I'm hearing they're making you pay for it this time. So if you want to see Charlie Ward in all his splendor, it won't be. It'll have to be with Disney Plus. You got to get a Disney Plus subscription, but that's a whole nother conversation, I guess. How you guys doing today?
From the Heisman House to Dancing with the Stars.
Listen, the popularity again.
I saw that rumor.
Again, once you win a state championship, it pretty much changed your entire
life. The whole
life.
world opens up.
Right. Basically, let me ask you a question, Charlie.
That was last year.
It doesn't matter, Charlie. Listen,
the new season hasn't started yet. It's still this year.
The level of it is almost like people forgot that you won a Heisman and led someone to a national championship. Forget that. You led a group of 18-year-olds to a state championship. Now all of a sudden they remember your greatness all of a sudden. Are you surprised by the outpouring of love over the past 365 days?
What is this about? I'm just.
We love you, man. You know that. You know
it hasn't even been 365.
It hasn't been 365. It's like 128 or something. I don't know. Whatever.
All I know is our guys are working.
Oh, look at the humility.
To have a great season, another great season.
It's the humility for me, Charlie. It is for sure.
Putting in the work for sure. So I don't know if we'll win another one, but as I said, we'll work to try. We'll die trying.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, as always, we are ridiculously proud of you and all the accomplishments that you are amassing, as if you hadn't already lived a life well lived, but you just keep stacking up stuff on the wall, man. So we got to keep talking about it. That's how it works.
Well, hopefully I can become a legend like Kendrick and
Well, Charlie, that is true.
Sportscaster of the Year and legendary in Louisville
Hosted Hall of Fame,
area.
Charlie. You're right. You're right. Oh, Charlie, listen. That you are 1,000% correct. Some people not named Charlie Ward and not named Lloyd Spence were out hosting Sports Hall of Fames this week, and he didn't think we noticed, but we noticed.
And that was a humble flex.
Yeah.
He didn't see it going this way. He didn't see it going this way this morning, Charlie. He thought it was going to go the other way, but no.
I'm not surprised by the tomfoolery that happened.
Did you? Okay, let's
I got asked to host the event, and I hosted it.
Yeah, that's right. You were asked to host it. They asked the Sportscaster of the Year to come and host the Sports Hall of Fame in Kentucky. That's how it works.
You say Kentucky?
Yes.
Not Louisville?
No, Kentucky. The state of Kentucky.
Sports Hall of Fame. So the inductees were UK Athletic Director Mitch Barnhart, former U of L star running back Michael Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Michael Bush.
Sue Feemster, who is she was a pioneer in Title IX stuff at UK, and then Dallas Thornton, a former Harlem Globetrotter. And so
Dallas Thornton.
And you know who they took their cues from this week? Kendrick Haskins, because he was hosting.
And that was a humble flex.
Oh, morning. Yeah.
See, Charlie hadn't smiled that much.
Kendrick Haskins is flexing this morning.
You didn't think I noticed. I tried to play it on the humble, Charlie, so he would know. But I noticed all of what you guys do. I pay attention, guys. I care. I care is what I'm trying to say.
I'm glad this humble flex has gone more than just one person now.
A little more balance than you thought it was, Charlie.
Yeah, we've added some balance to this deal.
It's a brand new day. That's all I'm saying. It's a brand new day. All right, let's jump right in.
Outrage.
Listen, let's jump right in to the show today. We got a good one for you today. Listen, we're here, guys. It's no longer theory. Technically, although not completely, but technically, the ACC starts this Saturday. Football starts this Saturday with 2 games. 2 teams from the ACC will play, not each other, but they will play this weekend. And so we will jump into that. And so we need to kind of talk about that. And then also we want to dive into a little depth of what's going on with the teams. And as a whole, who are really, truly the best of the best? Like, who are really what people and nationally and just in our humble opinions, who are the best players per position? Well, not say per position, but in totality, we'll just say it that way, to be looking at, and they're going to shape the entire season as we get started. So I thought we'd look at a best of the best list and kind of break down some of the names that are on these lists and see what we think. See what we think about who's the guys to watch out for. And I think the most glaring room in the ACC, I think if you were to talk to people, there are 2 specific rooms that we'll spend probably the most time about. And that is the quarterback room and the wide receiver rooms. Those 2 rooms specifically, I think people are going to be talking about all season. But to me, the quarterback room is the one that's the most interesting, especially now with the Sam Hartman injury, because to me, that's kind of a 2-man race with a lot of unknown possibilities, right? So the two names that jump off the page obviously are Devin Leary and Malik Cunningham. Those are the two names that people I think will be.
No Tyler Van Dyke.
Well, I guess that's where I was headed, Charlie. Those are the names I think nationally people are going to be talking about. But let's talk about what you just said. Who are the names they should be talking about, or are those the names they should be talking about?
All the guys is returning. I mean, they had pretty productive years last year. Of course, my guy Jordan Travis. You talk about Tyler Van Dyke. Is another name.
What is it about Tyler Van Dyke that it is breeding this curiosity of people? Like I hear, because people are saying that Miami could be back this year. They could be one of the sleepers.
Miami's back every time they get a new coach.
Well, see, that's what I think. I think it's more people want Miami back more so than it is that they're actually back. But a lot of people love Tyler Van Dyke. A lot of people love Tyler Van Dyke.
Well, depends on his offensive line. I don't know what he had coming back from that standpoint. But as far as him concerned, he has everything you need. He can move around. He can actually run. He can hit his target. I'm sure with the new offensive coordinator from Michigan, they'll find a way to dial up some things for him to be successful. And one of the things that you can guarantee, I guess, for moving forward with Miami is they will have guys that should be able to catch the football and run the football, and so
right.
And play defense. And so I think that's a recipe for success. And when you look at their team from last year, I think they won 7 games, and they lost a few games that they could have easily won.
Right.
And they were 1-score games, and so they're not they're not far off when it comes to where they want to be. A lot of games, like I say, they lost. They could have easily won those games, and they've been close the past few years. That's why I was surprised they moved on, but they found their guy, and they went out and got him, and now they're putting support behind him, which that's what every coach wants. Florida State's in the same boat. They went out and found their guy, and now they're putting support around him to help him be successful. And so as long as they have the right processes in place down in Miami, which I think they do, they'll continue. They may be on top this at some point. I don't know about this year, but at some point.
Listen. Go ahead, Kendrick.
I'm just stunned that a certain person on this show didn't mention his favorite quarterback name, because he loves to flex his usage of said last name, and he didn't mention him.
Well, I'm gonna be very clear. I don't know who you might be talking about. I don't know who either of you are really talking about, except to say
DJ.
that. Well, listen, I understand that there is a quarterback out there by the name of DJ Uiagalelei that is out there. But I'm gonna tell you something. In most of the pre-season rankings that you look at, he's not in those conversations. Like, I think people feel as though those 2 games in 2020 where he had what quote unquote breakout games may have been the exception and not the rule, because he hasn't gotten back to that. So it's hard to. I may not mention his name all season if he doesn't start pulling it together and making some impact. Now he's got, I think, a better receiving core, and I think he's got a better running back group now to support him.
I was gonna say if they can't run the ball, it doesn't matter because
I was going to say, well, I think his running back group now is a little bit more solid than maybe it was last year.
Bad last year.
Last year was offensive line.
Yeah.
Well, it was. But I guess what I'm saying is because I don't think Will Shipley and Kobe Pace were bad. They just, like you said, they just couldn't get a lot accomplished because if you're always in third and long, you're not going. Or if you're always down 14, you can't really run the ball. You gotta throw the ball to try to get back in the game. So I don't know. We'll see. I may not mention it could be that he breaks out. The offensive line has grown up. Everybody's finally figured it out. They're ranked number 4th in the nation. I don't necessarily believe that they're the 4th best team in the nation, but somebody out there believes it. Or it's just lazy journalism. We'll find out which one it is.
I think he has improved though. I think he was not embarrassed, but he knew he didn't play his best football, and he got challenged as well from the coaches to improve. So I do believe he'll be much better.
And I think there's pressure in the building now, Charlie. Right? There's pressure in the building now with the backup.
Who is the backup?
What was the kid's name? He's a highly recruited kid, from what I understand. And I'll just talk amongst yourselves.
He's a 5-star.
Yeah, he's a 5-star kid. Is it the I think it's the which one is it? The Hunter Helms kid? I think is his name. Is that the first? No. I'm completely messing up.
WWE.
Say it again.
I said you're thinking about the WWE.
Which one is it? I get them confused because there's 2 kids that came in. They're all 5-star. We talk about there's a 5-star. Aren't they all 5-stars?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Is it the Cade Klubnik kid or is it the other one? One of them is really supposed to be really, really good. I can't remember if it's the one from Austin or if it's the Trent Peter Perriman kid.
Well, I'm still amazed that these guys keep going to the same school.
Yeah.
Like Alabama. I mean, they have guys keep coming in and they go to the same school.
Well, I think that's a lot to do with just honestly.
They did the transfer portal anyway. So.
Exactly.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. But I think they just want what they perceive to be the easiest path to the league. Everybody thinks they're going to the league. So they're looking for the easiest path to the league.
Well, as a quarterback, you want to go somewhere where you fit. Well,
I would think you would want to go somewhere where you can, actually play or you fit, the system fits what you do, or it translates up. I don't know. But, I mean, I guess, listen, Clemson does have a good track record. They produce pretty good quarterbacks. So, I don't know. We'll see. But do you think this is Devin Leary's league this year? Or do you think it'll be Malik's breakout? What is Malik doing in his preseason workouts and I guess training camp, if you want to call it that? We don't normally call it training camp in college, but whatever.
He's throwing routes and
does he look like it? Does he look better? Does he look more efficient to you, or
show us anything? The few times we get to go to practice, they're just doing the same stuff that every other team in the country is doing. We don't see anything.
Okay, so it's hard to gauge it right now.
Yeah. Satterfield keeps raving about his improvement as a leader in the offseason. That's one thing Satterfield's been talking about more than anything is Malik's improvement as a leader on the field and off the field. So when you've been in college for 6 years, you generally
it's a lot easier to lead when you've been there a long time.
What are you talking about, my man?
I genuinely think Malik could be his breakout year. I really do.
If you look at statistically, last year was a breakout year for Malik.
It was, and
I think he has to skew his numbers. Probably. I mean, he was like 2,000 yards passing or whatever it was, and 1,000 yards rushing, something like that, right?
Right.
I got it up right.
Yeah. I wouldn't say skew it, but I guess he has to do what he needs to do to help his team win. So if it's because I know against us at Florida State, he torched us with a couple long runs, and so if you can do that, where you're not getting hit as much, putting yourself in harm's way, I think that's very helpful for him.
Right.
But what I mean by skew it is, potentially, throw the ball more, at least more yards, and then if you're running, your running is to get you out of trouble, and also, if the defense gives you a lane, you can take that lane and get down. So
right.
Instead of trying to hit that home run.
He was over 1,000 yards rushing, had 2,800 yards passing, had 19 rushing touchdowns.
Not a bad day's work.
No.
How many passing touchdowns?
He had. Let me just go to the stats because that's just the bio. He had passing touchdowns. Of course, it goes straight to rushing.
What is like 14 or 15 or
19.
Or the 19? Oh wow.
And he had.
So he had 19 passing and 19 rushing?
Rushing.
Say again?
And 20 rushing.
So he had more rushing than he had passing?
Yeah. But the previous year, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. So he went from 7 to 20. His passing touchdowns have been consistent. He's 22, 20, and 19.
Yeah.
So that's been consistent. He had 2,941 yards passing last year, so almost 3,000.
That's pretty good.
He's interesting. I mean,
19 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I mean, that's a good ratio. It's just not.
It is a good ratio. He's, like I said, he's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the better defenses prepare for him, and can he get some wide receivers and tight ends and running backs to step up and really help him.
But the question for them is the receiving core, because they lost so many.
Right.
They're raving about their Tennessee transfer running back. His name is Tyon Evans. They're raving about him a lot. And he should help. Marshawn Ford is back at tight end. And talking about Marshawn, he'll play on Sundays. And so he should be fine there. The question mark is that receiver, because even the offensive line is supposed to be even more improved this year. And they weren't bad last year. So
right.
It all falls on these young receivers. So we see that's going to make or break them on offense.
Gotcha. I want to go back real quick to the 2 teams that are ranked in the top 20. There's 4 teams. Believe it or not, the ACC has 4 teams ranked in the top 20.
This is
Clemson. Clemson's ranked 4th. NC State is ranked 13th. Miami's ranked 16th, and Pitt is ranked 17th. So that implies that somebody's
not going to make it.
Right.
Well,
Forest up there too.
Wake Forest is 22 in the AP and 19 in the coaches. So technically in the coaches they are there. Do y'all believe that Devin is that good? Like he's NC State is 13th in the nation. Good.
Well, they have a solid defense.
I was gonna say their
Uh,
defense while they're
I
ranked.
think that's.
That's
I
why
think
they're
that. I think that's where their calling card is, because they have a pretty solid defense, and then he's not bad. I mean, I like him as far as what he does for his football team. It's going to be interesting. Will he be the next our guy at UNC?
Is he Sam Howell? Is this the new Sam Howell?
I hope Sam Howell finds another year of eligibility. Come back.
You just want to see him torture me. That's what you want. I see what this is. I recognize what you're doing.
Yeah, but
I don't like it. I don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I don't like it. But what can I do about it?
Giants drafted him so bad.
Sam Howell is my nemesis.
But I think North Carolina State, it'll be interesting to see.
They are interesting because I think their defense is for sure going to keep them in a lot of games. We're talking about I know if to some people it's going to feel like we're all over the place, but we're just having a good conversation, so we're going to go with it. North Carolina State, listen, they were the number 2 defense in the conference last year. Surprisingly behind Clemson. Clemson was actually the for average per game. Clemson was actually the best defense in the conference last year.
Mm-hmm. That's why they won 10 games.
Right. Right. So while everybody's saying they had a down year, I mean that down is relative, to the success that they've already had. So I don't know how down it was, but I think NC State's defense will be elite. Just in the games that I've watched Devin Leary play, I can't think of one thing that I saw him do that made me go, "Oh my God, this kid is amazing." But to that same point, I can't think of one thing that I saw him do that was Sam Howell-esque.
He won games.
He won games. So and I think sometimes that's. But to your point, Kendrick, that's sometimes a very underrated quality. Like we crucify guys who make a lot of mistakes and never celebrate the guys who don't. Devin Leary is a guy who doesn't go out and lose games for you. So maybe that's the one quality that he needs. What's the guy who used to be the Ravens? Not Joe Flacco, but the one before him, who was very much a glorified game manager, and he parlayed that into a nice broadcasting career. Trent Dilfer. Is it Trent Dilfer? No. What's his name?
Trent's a high school coach now.
This guy was the quarterback of the 2000 team that won, that had that legendary defense. Was that Trent?
Yeah, that's Trent Dilfer.
Okay. Devin gives me Trent Dilfer vibes. You know what I'm saying? He's not may not wow you with anything that he does, but he's never going to lose a game for you.
Yeah, he's not that.
He's not that. He makes plays.
Yeah.
He can make plays with his legs if he has to. I give him more than Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to say he's more athletic than Trent, I'll give you that. Okay. But he's not making so many plays that you're like wowed on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not crucifying the guy. I'm actually praising him for not being
and I gotta say
horrible, I guess, if you will.
I watched him the most may have skewed my judgment when they played against Louisville, because I thought he was phenomenal in the second half of that game. And so he makes plays.
He was the calming force of that team when they needed him to be whatever they needed him to be and not make mistakes. He didn't do that. He led them back. That's all I'm saying.
What else supposed to do?
Now are they the 13th best team in the nation?
Well, they gotta put somebody in there, and I'm glad they put a couple guys, a couple schools from from the ACC.
Well, so do we believe in their preseason rankings, or are we just like it doesn't matter anyway because it's all going to come out in the wash?
It matters. I mean, because
Yeah.
let's take a look at their schedule real quick.
Well, it matters for all the teams because where you start sometimes depend upon, where you kind of end up. Because if you don't start in the top 25 and you're outside, you got to have quality wins. Because if you're on the outside of the top 25 and you don't have any quality wins and you're undefeated, you may jump in, but you're going to jump in on the back end because of strength of schedule or whatever the case may be. But
it's hard to jump in on the back end. You're right.
They have a difficult schedule. They start at East Carolina. They're home for Charleston Southern. They have Texas Tech at home. Then they have UConn at home. Then they at Clemson and then home for Florida State. So that's a tough stretch. Then they go to Syracuse, Virginia Tech, then Wake Forest at home. They've got a tough schedule. Their last 2 games of the season are on the road. Their last home game is on November 12th. So, yeah.
Can I throw out another?
They got games to move up if they.
Gotcha. Can I throw out another? I don't call it a hot take, but just a interesting or hopefully interesting statement. That at some point, all of the things that Syracuse has been doing the last 3 years, that at some point it has to come together for at least 1 year and be significant.
I think this year is going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like Sean Tucker, think about Sean Tucker, the running back. That dude, almost 1,500 yards rushing, 7 games with 100 yards or more. At some and that's coming to the game knowing I'm going to be the guy and I'm going to have to figure out how to dance around 8 or 9 guys in the box, right? So at some point, doesn't that have to come together? He gets some help on the receiving end, just on continuity and age. In college football, usually there's a 4-year cyclical kind of thing where right around that 3rd or 4th year, bad teams at least become decent just because they've been together so long.
Hey, Tucker had almost 1,500 yards rushing last year.
That's what I'm saying. That dude had 12 touchdowns last year, and he knew going to the game that he was going to have to try to figure out how to run around 8 to 9 guys.
Yeah. It is weird he had that many yards rushing and only had 12 touchdowns.
Well, because he had to try to figure out how he was going to run around 8 to 9 guys. It's not an easy – listen, Kendrick, it's not an easy task to do, right?
Well, one of the things you have to be mindful of as well is, if he's going to need some help because in this day and age, having one back is tough. And if you're running him all the time, a lot, at some point, it's going to wear him down. So you need multiple guys to be able to, spell him some plays. But I think the key for them is going to be their quarterback play, which I think improved a little bit more last year with the Schrader kid, who came from Mississippi State, I do believe. And
right.
I think he kind of shored up that quarterback position. He's a big target. If he can get his passing to where he's a little bit more accurate and, consistent in that area, I think that will help the run game. And Schrader is also a runner. I mean, he's not a bad runner, so that can help as well.
Yeah,
that's dual threat right there. Go ahead, Kendrick.
Their statistics are alarming because, you see, Schrader was the 2nd leading rusher with 781 yards. Their next leading rusher at running back running the ball, had 7 carries.
Yeah. So, that was really my point. It's
the leading receiver had 37 catches for 389 yards.
Yeah. Sean Tucker is more likely to say it again, Kendrick.
Are they wearing leather helmets? I mean, how does that happen in today's football? The leading receiver only has 389 yards receiving.
That's all I'm saying. He
Well,
has.
remember they spread it out.
And by the way, while running for 1,500 yards, the kid also had 20 receptions. So he was right behind the leading receiver in receptions. So it
Wow.
I don't know. To me, that's a kid that ends up playing on Sunday, and he just
ways to get him the ball and better ways to move the ball around more than anything.
right. And again, I think that's a kid that's going to play on Sundays because if you can do that,
get there.
I would say he need
that's
hurry up.
The X factor. That's the X factor. Can he stay healthy long enough to make it to the league? But
that's why I said they need to make sure that they're managing him this year, because last year he was I think a freshman.
Yeah,
and that's a lot for a freshman.
That's a lot.
Even though he's talented, but I think they just need to find some more people to help take some of the pressure. You can still get 1,500 yards, but he has to take that. They got to take some of that pressure off of him as well, because he ended up getting hurt.
Can you tell us a little bit about the great or soon to be great Trayshawn Ward? What are your thoughts on him? Early thoughts on him helping out your Seminoles?
Trayshawn is a guy who his story is, of course, as you know, he came in as a walk-on, and stuck it out. Ended up earning a scholarship because he was torching people on the scout team, and now he's one of the focal points of the backfield. But the good thing about our situation is right now we have 3 backs that can actually get it done. LT, Lawrence Toafili, and Trey Benson, guy who just transferred in from Oregon. He's the X factor to me from what I've seen. He's a big kid and he's explosive. And so that's a good combination. But Trayshawn is a guy who he really reminds me of Ward Dunn. The way he's built, and the way he runs the football. And so a lot of people don't like to compare certain people, but his ability is very, very similar. I've been watching him for quite some time, and he's grown and matured a lot, and they have very similar running styles. They're hard to get on the ground. So when you're hard to get on the ground because whether you're shifty or whatever it may be, makes you an effective back. So he's a guy most people are kind of pushing out there, which he's earned that for this year. But I do know that there are other guys in the backfield that will make a big impact this year besides him.
Do you feel like you guys are going to be a lot more ground and pound than the aerial attack that a lot of teams in the ACC are adapting? But you guys are going to go back to that old school style of we're going to beat you on the ground. We're going to wear you down, clock management, that kind of thing.
No, I mean it'll be balanced. Okay. With Jordan being a veteran quarterback, and they're going to throw it around because we have good receivers as well. So it's not just 1 or 2 guys. They got a stable of receivers, just like everyone else. But they're solid all around this year when it comes to the run game, pass game. Michael Pittman, he's a dude. So he's a football player. As people always, when I ask about him, they always describe him. He's a football player. but he's a great guy. And Johnny Wilson has been playing well as also. And he's the 6'7" transfer from Arizona State.
Wow.
And he's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a matchup problem, it sounds like, 6'7".
He's 6'7" too. He's a big kid.
Okay.
I'm amazed at it. But I just think Jordan Travis is the key, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's been there for a while, and now he's comfortable. He's confident because he understands and knows what's going on within the offense. And I do believe he will be the difference maker.
So, and to Daniel Bell's question, does he takes the step forward this year? This is the year it all comes together.
Yes, I do believe this is his 5th year, and the older guys normally, especially at that position, normally come around in their 5th year and good things happen.
So interesting that we're having this conversation. It sounds to me that like there are several quarterbacks in the ACC this year that just because, and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it to, just because they've been around it for so long, that they will be the bridge that may make their teams that much better, not even for just this year, but going forward. Like they're kind of the turnaround player, if you will, like Jordan Travis, like Malik for Louisville, like Devin, like Sam once he gets healthy, depending on what his situation is. But those are the guys like Schrader. Like maybe Schrader is the guy now who stabilizes it all and he ships Syracuse once and for all back into something. You don't have to look like that, Kendrick. We're trying to give Syracuse some love on this show today, and you're not helping with that face. That face is saying
it's not even a knock on Schrader. I'm just looking at those stats. I'm just like,
it's not. Listen, it's not ideal.
That's more than personnel when those what the stats look like.
That was last year.
That was last year, right? I'll tell you one of the teams that I'm really interested in seeing because on paper it looks like they're supposed to have a breakout season. To me, this is just to me, wide receiver wise, Virginia has 3 wide receivers that are really, really good. So to me, Jordan Travis and Brennan Armstrong sit in the same seat. Like, Brennan, it's time. Like, brother, like, you don't really have any excuses anymore. You got everything you need. You got speed everywhere. You got some size. You got everything you need to become a breakout quarterback. At this point, it's on you. I mean, these names are unbelievable. Dontavian Wicks, I think is his last name. And then Katavian Thompson. And then Billy Kemp. I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't have a breakout season. But
Billy Kemp's number 4?
I think he is number 4.
A little short, shorter guy.
Yeah, I think he's the one. He's their version, I think, of Tyreek Hill. Like he's really short, quick, in and out kind of dive. I just wondered, will Brennan finally A, stay healthy? Let's start with that. And then B, put it all together. And now you're like, okay, here comes Virginia.
They're the opposite of Syracuse, where they need help in the running game.
Right.
And the leading rusher only had 324 yards rushing last year. So
right.
we know what Virginia's going to do when they come in. If they can get more balance, offensively, I think they could be a sneaky good team this year.
Or find a way to offset it.
Offset what?
The running game, and maybe you speed the tempo up. Throw out some screens, some bubble screens, and
well, Brendan,
no huddle, and just go for it.
Brennan had their most rushing touchdowns, and it's not even close. And he only had 9. So they have to find some more balance.
Yeah, that I don't care who you are, you gotta have a balanced offense. You can't be one dimensional. I don't care what kind of team. If you're going to be successful, and even defensively, you got to have balance. You can't be an all blitz team. You can't be an all zone team. It can't be all man to man. That may be your tendency, but you got to be balanced in your approach, because if you're one dimensional, at some point you're going to fizzle out, because that's what people are going to stack up on. And so being balanced is something that I think every offense, every defense, and even special teams, that's something that you have to make your staple or look to have. And if you got your leading rusher at 324 yards, that's unbalanced.
Right.
That's just had to.
Did I hear? I thought I heard this week that North Carolina is going with Drake May.
Yeah.
As the starting quarterback for North Carolina. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I heard that this week too. Yeah.
Okay.
You know who they're playing?
First game of the year. Yeah, they're playing the Rattlers of Florida A&M.
Yeah.
But I guess the reason why I bring them up is because I'm a big Josh Downs guy, and I'm wondering, is he finally going to get what he deserves? Because he didn't get that with the previous quarterback.
Oh Lord, the man just got drafted.
Where'd he go? Where'd he get drafted to?
I don't know, but he got drafted.
Exactly. And how's that going for him? It's not. That's my point, Charlie.
Just because and also if you don't get drafted, doesn't mean you can't be a good quarterback in college.
All right.
He's with Washington, so there's a very good chance you have to run into him.
Right. There's a good chance he's going to play this year. That's a good point. A very good point. But that should tell you what kind of quarterback he is, because he ended up on a team that doesn't know anything about quarterbacks. So
Josh Downs made his name off of that quarterback.
He did. So that tells you how good Josh Downs is. He rose above his circumstances. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he does.
Giants. I hope he plays against the Giants.
Stop it. Stop doing that. That's not right. What you're doing right now is not right. So out of those quarterbacks, all jokes out, who do you guys think will truly have that breakout transcendent year? The one we'll be talking about at the end of the year going, my God, I didn't see that coming. I think it definitely could be a 3-man race, a 4-man race in if you believe the hype of Miami, then Tyler Van Dyke will obviously be in that conversation. But I think it's Devon's to lose.
I'm really high on Brennan, to be honest.
I mean,
he's gonna have the attempt, that's for sure. I mean, he threw the ball 500 times last year, so he's gonna have the attempt.
They clearly don't have a problem throwing the ball, so. But I guess they don't have a choice either, because there's just not a lot else going on there but to throw the ball. But I don't know, man. I think that the ACC is, like Daniel Bell said a minute ago, I think the ACC is far more poised to have breakout quarterbacks than people think that they are. So it'll be interesting to see, how we perform.
This has the potential to be one of the most competitive ACC we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Strong quarterbacks in this league. I think you're going to see a super competitive league and fun games to watch all season long, because seems like just about every team has a legit quarterback.
It's going to be kind of the blessing and the curse, because I think the league is going to be very, very competitive, which means you're probably just playing for an ACC championship. I think we're gonna beat ourselves down to such a degree that we're gonna play ourselves right out of a national championship possibility.
Well, there's going to be one or two teams that will, maybe have one or two losses at the most. That's going to kind of separate themselves. But then again, you could have, like I said, one or two teams that kind of hang on, like Georgia and Alabama did last year. I mean, they kind of beat up their side of their side of the division,
Right.
and they were able to beat in a championship game. But there may be a team in the Coastal that, if they can win a crossover game, one of the 8 conference crossover games, then they could potentially be that second team. I'm not sure who the Atlantic team, because Atlantic this year should be pretty competitive.
Right. To Daniel Bell's question, Sam Hartman right now is out indefinitely with a what they categorize as a non-football injury. But he's out indefinitely. So, and I have not heard, unless you guys have heard it, I have not heard any timetable whatsoever as to when he will be back. And obviously, because of HIPAA and FERPA laws, they can't mention anything like that, especially if it's non-football related.
Right.
Who knows when Sam Hartman is coming back? But I like Chad's question. He says, could an ACC quarterback be in the running for a Heisman? My answer to that is yes, because there are several quarterbacks who are in position to put up some really gaudy numbers.
Your guy's gonna have the publicity coming in just because.
Who's that?
You know who it is. Your guy.
DJ Uiagalelei?
See, I lob him up. And
I'm not sure if he's gonna. I mean, he had a bad year last year, so
he's gonna have the hype. Is all I'm saying. If he comes in first couple of games of the season, puts up big numbers, he's gonna get a lot of the hype.
Who are they playing?
Who are they starting with? Let's see who they're starting with,
because that's the key. Like,
actually got there.
If they playing some team, say again.
They open with Georgia Tech in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh, okay.
They play Louisiana Tech at Wake Forest. That's the big one. Saturday, September 24th.
I was going to say his first 3 games line up for him to put up good numbers.
He's going to put up numbers those games. Then at Wake Forest and then home for NC State back-to-back. That's when he's going to get tested.
And thank you, Brandon, because I could not remember which one of those 5 stars were the ones. And I thought it was Cade Klubnik, but I couldn't remember. And he's right. It's Cade Klubnik. DJ, I don't know. I don't know what to think about him. I love saying his name.
Giving up.
Fun name to say.
I can't give up on him just because of how bad they were running the ball last year. Like losing Travis Etienne was harder on them than losing Trevor Lawrence was.
Oh, no question. No question.
But their offensive line wasn't good.
Right.
That was the reason for the run game, because they couldn't get a push.
Yeah.
So do you think because of time and now depth, they'll be able to get that push, and that's why they're at the 4th? That's why people are saying they're the 4th best team in the nation. Normally, when a Clemson team is good, Charlie, you know that they're good coming into the season. There's no questions about anything that they're presenting, right? And historically, we've watched Clemson teams come out of one year and go into the next year, and you go, man, they're going to be really good because of X, Y, and Z. I don't see the X, Y, and Z this year other than the defense. Now, the defense is going to be what it always has been. It's going to be phenomenal.
I think it's twofold. I think a lot of it is part of their hype is because they've earned it surfaced over the last few years. So you don't expect Clemson to have a 2 or 3 loss seasons 2 years in a row,
Right.
and that's part of it. And they've earned that, and so that's a big part of it.
Last year they were able to win 10 games and they lost a lot of guys to injury.
Yeah.
Like a record number of guys they lost for the season. And so they were able to overcome that because of their depth in some certain areas. But and all those guys who were injured, I do believe, came back or they're back. So that's probably one of the reasons why they're up there as well. But like I said, it's kind of not where you start.
Mm-hmm.
You still got to win games.
I would say quarterback-wise, watch Malik, watch Tyler, watch Brennan for the Heisman race. But sneaky number-wise, watch Sean Tucker. Like, if he does that again, you're going to have to start having conversations about him being one of the best backs in the country. Like,
thing with him though is, will they win enough games?
They will not. But sometimes every now and then the gaudiness of the numbers reads so loud that you can't ignore it. Like, regardless of how bad the team is, could they be a 500 team? Possibly, because they were in a lot of games last year.
Yeah.
So they just couldn't finish. They couldn't close them. So maybe the age and experience now allows them to close at least 2 to 3 more games that they didn't close last year, which puts them in that 500 range, which allows him to sneak into some Heisman conversations that he wouldn't have snuck into, otherwise. So, but I think he'll be very, 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 very interesting.
I'm not knocking him. I mean, I expect him to have a phenomenal season. I think with that team, it's going to be hard. Like I said, we're sitting here saying if they improve, they'll be 500. Well, you got a lot of players out there who's not worried about being 500 this year. So you got a lot of guys that's going to be in that conversation who's going to have much better records. And so that's why I say it's going to be super hard for him to get up there.
Charlie Brandon says he thinks your Seminoles or y'all's Seminoles. I think he's a Florida State fan. He thinks you guys are going to be 8-4. What are your thoughts on that?
No.
That's a good guess, but they'll be competitive in all games. I mean, they have that kind of talent, and they're at a point now where last year they were competitive, except for one game, 1-score games, and this year they have more depth when it comes to experience and young talent mix, and so they should be competitive. So I can see 8 or 9 wins.
Okay. All right. I know we just got a few minutes here. Best defense in the ACC. Who would you attribute that to just on paper?
Well, you got to go with NC State. I mean, they're kind of the team that's bringing back a lot of guys. Of course, Clemson. You got to tip your hat to as well. Because they brought 6 guys back from last year's team defense, but they had a lot of guys out as well, and those guys are back. Like my man Brian Breesy, number 11.
I like Brian.
I like Brian.
I like Brian.
He was a wreck. I mean, they got Miles Murphy. They got quite a few cats that's coming back. So I can see NC State and Clemson being on paper top defenses.
Is there a Georgia like quality to any of these defenses from last year? Like, and what I mean by that is the defense is so good that it can carry the team through to an ACC championship.
ACC championship, maybe.
Huh? Right, an ACC, not necessarily a national championship, but an ACC championship.
ACC, that.
Say that again because I think it broke up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think NC State's defense is good enough to do that.
All the way through to the end.
Barring any major injuries.
Right.
To key players.
I'm excited to see. You know what's interesting? I'm excited to see what because Pitt's only, to me, even though Kenny Pickett was good last year, he was great last year. But he benefited tremendously from a great defense as well. I'm curious to see what they return as well.
I'm stunned. I'm still waiting on it though.
Waiting on what?
Charlie's mentioning of him running to the sideline between every play.
Well, listen,
they don't have to do that anymore.
He's in the mix for the starting role in Pittsburgh. A lot of people think he should start.
I think he's going to beat out Trubisky. I really do.
I don't know if you throw him to the wolves like that. You don't. Do you go from running to the sideline to now to the starting quarterback of the Steelers?
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty big jump.
He adapted to technology.
Yes, he's adapted to the technology. 21st century quarterback now.
That's a pretty big jump, though. I don't know. We'll see.
I know he's enjoying it.
He's definitely enjoying it. All right. Well, we will continue to break down all of this over the next week here, and then we'll give our predictions next week. But right now, we are in full shout-out mode. So, who are you guys giving your shout-outs to today? I actually want to go first because I have two very distinct shout-outs. Number one, I want to give a shout-out. Actually, I have three. I want to give a shout-out to the great and talented Hope Ward, because she got her daddy to do this, and I think that's outstanding, and he's killing it. Look at him, Charlie. You look good, man.
I appreciate it.
Where did A come from? I thought you was right-handed.
I think it's the reverse of the camera.
Yes.
So I just wanted to give him a shout out, give her a shout out because that's impressive.
I could be ambidextrous.
There you go. Was that a flex?
Yes.
I don't know if that's a flex. Was that flex worthy? I feel like you're trying to flex him because
he was flexed.
Yeah, right. He's been flexed a lot.
He wants somebody to join his club.
Right. He's been flexed a lot today, so I get it. But my other shout out is to Shaquem Griffin, who retired on yesterday. What a phenomenal story! What a phenomenal career! What a phenomenal legacy! And I cannot wait to see what his second act is. Young guy who defied all of the odds and made it to the NFL, and decided, I'm tired of chasing the dream. I already achieved the dream. Now it's on to something else. But man, what a story! And I've always been enamored with that guy's story and his journey, and I think he's amazing. So I want to give him a shout out. And then my final shout out is to what is going to break officially sometime today, but with the Los Angeles Lakers, for always keeping it interesting. Always keeping it interesting by bringing out.
I would love to see that locker room.
Well, listen, that locker room is about to drastically change, I believe, because I cannot imagine that you can have a locker room with two people that dislike each other more than Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly. I would imagine that locker room is about to dramatically change. If ever there was a signal to a guy that you're probably on your way out, that would be the signal. I cannot imagine those two are going to be starting training camp together. But it would not be an un-Laker-like thing to have them starting training camp together. So
I'm praying for that almost as much as I'm praying for Sam Howell to play against.
don't do that. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Just because it's too humble flex, don't do that. That's
So Patrick Beverly is in.
It appears it broke late last night, Charlie, that Patrick Beverly should be at some point this morning traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
From Utah?
Yeah.
Yes, for Taylor Horton Tucker.
So could you imagine Patrick Beverly playing in Utah?
No. Which is one of the reasons, and neither could they, right? And neither could they. So
that just don't seem right.
That when they did that trade, I immediately thought, well, that's not going to last very long at all because he does not fit that culture at all. So yeah, so he is on his way to LA.
So what are the Lakers doing?
Don't do that, Charlie. Charlie. My teams are struggling right now. All the teams I support are struggling right now. Okay. They're struggling. They're trying to figure it out. Okay. So I'm hoping this is a precursor to something that's going to lead to something better. So we'll see.
Yeah, until they get out from under LeBron and AD's contracts, they're not going to be.
But they're going to have to restart. They're going to start over once they get underneath them deals. Because right now, those are the two best players.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We just got to make some adjustments here. Our real nemesis is the $47 million we're paying Russell Westbrook for not being able to shoot. That's our real nemesis. So those are my
Westbrook been working on his game, man.
I still don't understand why they didn't pull the trigger on trading him for John Wall, but whatever.
Now I'm starting to regret my shout out. So all right, Charlie, Kendrick, who you shouting out today?
We only have one, and that's for Hope Ward. She earned third chair.
Wow.
In her TCU orchestra.
Wow. Third chair.
Third chair. Sophomore.
Wow. Phil.
So she was bummed because her professor didn't allow her to play the whole piece. He only played half. But
I was just getting to the good part.
We kind of figured he had the first two chairs for
already. Got you.
So we're grateful. She's grateful. And so third chair. That was a good feat for our counterpart.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So look at Hope Ward getting two. Have we ever had anybody that got two shout outs? It was two different people on the same show. I think she might be the first.
The show first.
All right. Kendrick, who you shouting out today?
I'll shout out all the inductees into the Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame.
That's the thing you hosted, right? That was the thing you hosted, right? No, I'm asking, was that the thing you hosted?
Yes, it was.
And that was a humble flex.
Yeah.
There needs to be an investigation into this malarkey.
An investigation? A full-on investigation? Yes. Wow.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I think an investigation will really...
A Trump-like investigation. Breaking news on BLEAV ACC. Justice Department launches full-scale investigation.
There's a coup against me.
This is not even coordinated. This is just in the moment. We're just proud of you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm in a helicopter with Stephen A. Smith.
What just happened?
Stephen A. Smith just arrived on First Take riding in a helicopter with Jerry Jones because they're in
Oh
Dallas.
my God.
So, shout out to that.
You can't make this stuff up, can you? You can't make this stuff up, can you?
Oh, you
Oh my goodness. Because they're buddies. They're besties. So, that's what happens. Well, listen, I've enjoyed myself tremendously this morning. I hope you guys have as well. Huh?
I'm glad somebody did.
Why didn't you enjoy yourself? Listen. Clearly, you are doing big things in the world, and we want to acknowledge those things. Listen, when you're getting humble flexed on the show,
that's a privilege.
Right, life is going good.
Yeah.
Right,
Privilege, Charlie.
You're privileged.
life is going good, man. Life is going good. So we are proud of you, sir. That's all that means. That's all. As you tell Charlie often, we're proud of you. That's what this means.
And it's the truth.
It's the truth. And it's the truth.
Charlie.
Tell him, Charlie. Tell him. See, Charlie being a humble flex veteran, he can explain to you how and why this happens and all of that. He'll make you feel better. Y'all can just talk offline and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of humble flex in my life right now. So.
Conspiracy.
Listen, for the rest of you who will be watching this later and listening to this later, we appreciate you. We're going to work all this humble flex stuff out behind the scenes here. But that is the Sportscaster of the Year, Kendrick Haskins over there. That is the Heisman Trophy and National Championship and State Championship coach and future Dancing with the Stars contestant, Charlie Ward.
Breaking news. Chet Holmgren's missing the season.
What did he do? Broke his
With
foot?
that injury, that foot injury?
That foot injury, he's going to miss the season.
They're probably taking it precautionary.
It was that bad. Oh, it's a Liz Frank injury.
Yeah,
well, then there it is.
Frank.
That's why.
Yeah.
Wow.
And someone was talking about last night. I was on Twitter or something, and they were talking about guys playing in these pro-ams for free and all of that.
Yeah.
That's about to end.
but my whole thing is that's not even the issue. The issue is this could happen at any time. I mean, you see guys getting hurt doing workouts,
right?
Like tearing Achilles and ACLs. It's happening everywhere. So it's not a certain place. Like people want to always put blame on something, but that is not the issue. The issue is it's an injury and it happened. And so this could happen. Well, because you see guys playing all the time in pickup games. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get better going into the season. And so it could have happened anywhere. So I don't put too much on these pro-ams, guys playing in pro-ams.
Charlie, you know how people like to knee jerk.
I agree.
And some of this, I think, is cumulative. Like it's just the body natural wear and tear over any level of usage over time. I mean, unless you allow the body time to truly recover and rest, because a lot of these guys, they've played continuous ball, AAU to this, and they never allow their bodies the opportunity to rest and recover, which is as critical to long-term success as anything. And I think that's part of the problem. But don't get me on that soapbox today because we're about to wrap up the show. But I do think that's part of the problem. But man, our thoughts and prayers are with Chet Holmgren today. Man, that's tough. That's really tough. So there you go. As we walk out the door, some breaking news for the peoples. So with that being said, this is breaking news and BLEAV in the ACC all at the same time. We will see you all next week. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time